Welcome to the Halloween episode 13. What a great intro.
It's fitting. It's fitting. It sounds fitting. And they can't, unless there's some wolf out there that feels, kind of funny, they can't hit us with copyright infringement and all this other stuff. So I think we're good on that one. How you doing? How's it been going?
Hey, fantastic. Fantastic. Look, the cat messed up our intro process. He's David Blair. I'm Trevin Perez. Welcome to the Realtors episode 13. Lucky
That's good.
13.
Lucky 13. It hasn't been lucky though. It hasn't been lucky. We've had a couple of tough weeks with hurricanes. Seem to be rolling in every couple of weeks. Just got by one. Um, uh, Prayers, of course, go out to families that were affected. We're in Northeast Florida. I'll jump in real quick and kind of tell you how we were affected. We actually had very minimal um, damage, some flooding in some of our coastal areas, but for the most part, we're kind of spared of any kind of major damage. What about you guys in Central Florida?
Yeah, man. Yeah, prayers go out to all of those who suffered. The Tampa got hit hard, certain parts of Tampa, and it's weird because I have clients and tenants in Fort Myers and Sarasota area, and some parts were spared, other parts really got flooded. And then on the Lakeland side, some trees fell. They were without power for at least a week. So, that was hard just dealing with that and trying to help out tenants and just give people the route or the just an extra power charge, for their phone because they had no way to charge up to stay connected to the world. And then on my side in Orlando, I think we were spared for the most part, thank God. But there was some parts like Oviedo and closer to UCF where it's known to flood. So they had some issues, but uh, as we recover, it looks like we're expecting more on its way, right?
Yeah, yeah. I see. I took a peek this morning. It looks like there's one out in the Atlantic. I guess so I guess the thing is now they go by numbers. It's 94L or something, and then it used to be called a tropical depression. Did they change that? Is it a number now? Because it used to be a tropical depression, then it was a tropical storm, and then it turned into a hurricane, an actual named storm. So I think what they do now is they put a number assigned to it instead of a tropical depression. Then if it gets to a certain strength, I guess they change it and it actually becomes a storm. So something crazy that I saw online. You never know whether with AI and everything, whether this is actually real or not. So I'm looking at a video through either TikTok or Instagram, and it's someone's house in Tampa, the Tampa Bay area, where they're doing video, and I mean the home is literally 3 feet of sand inside the home.
Yeah, I saw that.
Inside where which is just I don't even know how you begin to how do you fix
Yeah,
that? I mean,
seriously.
yeah, it's just yeah, it's terrible. It's
Well, I got to
fortunately,
tell you, sorry, I got to tell you, yeah, the TikTok and the social media ads and AI, it's doing a lot of tricks to us all. My wife sent me a video with like a hurricane, and you hear like the soundtrack, the people screaming in the background and lightning inside of the silicone of the spinning, and you hear the same screaming, and then you go to the next video, it's the same kind of soundtrack,
yeah,
and I'm like, babe, I think this is fake,
I know.
oh man, yeah, it's
Yeah, I
hard
think
to
we saw the
tell.
same. I think we saw the same one. I see the same thing. I'm playing it, and my wife has asked. She's like, "What's that in the background?" I'm like, "I don't know if that's supposed to be the wind or what it is." But I mean, hurricanes for the most part, they don't need any enhancement. They're scary as shit to begin with. You don't need a
Exactly.
soundtrack with it. It's pretty bad already. But you know, short of Sharknado, which they haven't made one of those in a few years. I'm a little disappointed. That was a nice effect that they threw in. So, but anyway,
Seriously.
so yeah, so another one looks like it might be rolling. That one's I think about a week away. So So if you're a buyer, I was thinking about this the other day. I've got to call a customer this afternoon. I've got a buyer that was coming in town to look at their property within the next couple of weeks. If you're a buyer and you're seeing this, let's say you're not from Florida, so you're not used to this. What do you think the thoughts are possible? I got to think at some point it's got to be on your radar to where you're considering, hey, maybe I don't want to move to Florida and deal with a hurricane season every year that could either completely wipe your property out or flood it or go without, electricity or all these other things. What do you think? I mean, it's got to be in someone's mind. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, David, I think that I was on a call with some of the brokers in Florida, and we were talking about that, how there's a sentiment of just fear and anxiety of people saying, look, I want to move, get out of the state of Florida. For one, it's getting too expensive. For two,
Mhm.
these storms are coming more frequently. Forget about buying or holding out for the right price or for an improved market. Let me just go. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more apprehension with the weather.
But my thought on that has been, where do you go where weather is not an issue? So if you think about California, you think about everybody that talks about California. Well, pricing is outrageous, obviously in California, but you've
Right.
got you've got the forest fires that come up every year. You've got earthquakes that you have to deal with. So that's on that coastline, and then if you go to the opposite and you're on the East Coast, then you're dealing with snowstorms, blizzards, the cold weather. So Florida's always been an ideal location to supposedly retire in. A lot of retirees want to come here because of the warm climate. But yeah, hurricanes are becoming a real pain in the ass of something that you have to deal with here. And it's one of those things that it's Mother Nature. You can't do anything about it. So um,
Well, and let me ask you your opinion on this, right? This touches on a topic that we covered a few weeks back, where it
mhm,
included the election and
yeah.
the concept of global climate change. Is there do
Mhm.
we have is it a real topic, or is it smoke and mirrors, as some would allude to? And is the drilling and fracking and all of this stuff, is it causing global warming? Is it intensifying it? So not to go on the political bend, but we
Mhm.
are in a election cycle, a big
Sure.
one.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because hurricanes and the weather it just seems like there really is causation associated. But what's your take?
I think so. I mean, I can't, I don't, I think obviously everything that we do on a daily basis, whether it's toxins that we put in the air, or, drilling for oil or various things that we do to the planet, are going to have some kind of effect. You can't not have that. I've watched several documentaries on, the coral reefs and how they're affected, to where there's a large percentage of those that are actually have died out because the temperature in the ocean has raised to a level to where they're dead. That's not just happening just because. I mean, there's obviously a reasoning because of that. Now, if you listen to some politicians, they feel that we can control the weather, or someone can control the weather. I heard that this past week. A
Yeah,
politician made the comment that we can control the weather, and I was watching one of the shows. I don't know if it was Bill Maher or John Oliver, and they said, well, if that was the case, then that's the party that you would vote for, whether it was Republican or Democrat. If someone can said, that they can control the weather, well, shit, I would probably vote for them. I would vote for them. If you could control the weather and you could make it a nice sunny day versus a hurricane rolling in here every other week, then yeah, maybe that's a
yeah,
that's a strong voting thing. So, but yeah, I do think it obviously has some kind of impact. I think
yeah.
if you're ignoring that, or you're putting your head in the sand and saying, there's no global warming, there's none of those things that are actually affecting us, then you're probably kidding yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and last point on that topic. It's interesting is there is the ability to make it rain. They put some kind of seeding process. Yeah,
This
different, different, and that's for the nightcap version of our show, recorded at 11 p.m. on a Friday. Not this show, but it's a seeding effect that they use a technology to make it rain, and they use
Yeah.
this in the Midwest part of the country for our
Hmm.
crops, and
Hmm.
and Dubai and places like that have used that technology as well to control the weather.
Yeah.
And they're saying that that's partly what happened to Dubai and why they became flooded so dramatically, because they've been messing around with Mother Nature, and it's
Hmm.
backfired. So yeah, it's an interesting place that we find ourselves in, technology
Yeah.
wise, and just in the world as human beings.
Yeah. Well, let's get into speaking of hurricanes and things that they cause, power outages. You and I, before we started on today, we talked about power outages. You had some experience with that with one of your properties this past week, and so for everything that we do that um, is based on either working on marketing online or various things like that, social media, all the things that we talk about, none of that happens obviously without electricity. I've always said and kind of joked that the quickest way to deteriorate our society would be to let us go without electric. Because I mean, you can see, I mean, you've probably seen it with your tenants in your property. Just see even after a week how things become of not having electricity. Whether it's you don't have your phone, you don't have your refrigerators, your air conditioning, all those things that we rely on a daily basis. So in segueing that, we're going to talk a little bit about today about online presence and kind of tips for social media, websites, virtual tours, targeting the right audience, just kind of getting some of each other's thoughts in regards to uh, how do you actually create that online presence. Obviously, we're trying to create content through this podcast, to do that for ourselves. Both of us are actually trying to create an online presence and be a resource for buyers and sellers within our own respective areas. And that's really the whole purpose, for everyone that's out there. That is the purpose of this podcast, is to generate good content and to create an online presence. So we do need you to subscribe to do that. So keep that in mind as well. So what do you want to start with first as far as creating online presence? Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, right? There's an onslaught of options available online, and the online options are pretty limited, right? You got the major players. You got Facebook. Facebook has Instagram. Then you got Google.
Hmm.
Google is everything above the sun. And then you have your websites. So you have your social, your SEO, which is search engine optimization. I got marketers always bugging me about how they need to contact me to improve our YouTube numbers and subscribers. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, I don't think there's anything magical here. I think it takes time to grow, but we got to record the content like Gary Vandercheck always talks about. So yeah, I mean, I think as a realtor, we have a website,
Hmm.
and then we'll have typically a Instagram profile page and a Facebook profile page for our business to promote ourselves and to promote our listings. So we would put out content related to sellers and to buyers,
Hmm.
that we think is educational, and potentially, if it's humorous or informative, to drive traffic toward us, so we can explore helping clients find properties. So I would say that, yeah, on the online front, there's not a there's an infinite number of ways to market to people, because nowadays, just like our podcast, no one's really watching TV anymore traditionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about Fox News and CNN,
Hmm.
but no one's watching our local ABC, NBC, CBS, three channels anymore as the primary source of content. It's all online. So
Hmm.
it makes it a little difficult to attract attentive eyeballs.
Yeah.
People are distracted, right? As you heard my device ping. um, so I would say, from the online standpoint, it's hard to be really effective in that regards. What's your
Well,
take?
I think we can't. I mean, we can't wait for anything anymore. I mean, everything is delivered at such a fast pace. And I joke because we have teenagers in the house, so I joke about um, their ability to concentrate on one thing because they're watching TV and then their phone is on, to where they're watching TV yet they've got a podcast, or they're scrolling through, through reels or TikTok videos, or Instagram, or Insta chat. As I told my stepdaughter this past weekend, I'm like, "Are you looking at Insta chat?" And I just felt really old. And she started laughing. She's like, "What is Insta chat?" And I'm like, "Actually, it's something I like it. I think I'm going to create that. I'm going to go out and find somebody to create that. So we call it Insta chat. So we're gonna kind of merge those two. But yeah, I think that it stems from, so much information is put out there, and there's only so much time in the day. So we're trying to absorb as much as we can. And I catch myself doing it. I'm watching a sports show, and then I've got my phone on and I'm listening to something else while I'm watching that. So I think we're at a point in time to where we're trying to constantly consume a lot of information. But something I saw recently was in regards to algorithms and how they're set up to what you're looking at and what you're watching. I think you do need to be mindful of whether there's any validity to what you're watching, or whether there's any actual good content to it. There's so much AI out there, and there's so much thing that gets so many things that get created that are not real. It's not based on facts. So yeah, again, not getting off track here. What we're talking about is trying to develop online presence, but I think you have to be able to reach an individual buyer or seller and what they're looking for. And I think that can be something different at any given point, whether they just start their search for a home or they're 3 or 4 months into it. Facebook, for example. I mean, we've both done some advertising through Facebook and through ads, but I would venture to say my return on that has actually been pretty low, I think. Now, I will say this: I think if you stay top of mind and you're out there, what you're wanting to do as a real estate agent is let people know that you are in business. There's nothing worse than going out and meeting someone that you haven't seen in a while, or maybe it's a customer from a few years ago, and they tell you, "Oh yeah, I just closed on a house," and I totally forgot that you were in real estate. So our goal in that is to stay in front of buyers and sellers and let them know that we're in business now. So whether that means putting out little, silly videos here and there, whatever the case is, so be it, because you do want to make sure that people know that you are in business. So I don't know that I have a favorite in regards to that. Facebook is interesting to me because when I see postings that you put on there as far as what type of interaction that you get, um, pets are always really high on the list. It seems like if you put a picture of a dog or something like that out there, or a pet, it gets really high ratings. You can put a picture out there of Trevin can say, "This is my brand new listing on XYZ Street," and I'll like it, and two other people. But that's everyone,
Yeah.
everyone else just scrolls by, so it's not on their radar. But I do think people want to look at homes. People that are even not looking to buy a home want to look at homes. So those sites that are out there that we can kind of maybe uh, tie into, homes.com. Not trying to plug them, but just one of the ones that come to mind as far as being able to be connected to that. I think gives you credibility in that you're a resource for potential buyers that are looking out there, whether you're looking at buying or selling. So do you have a favorite that you like to go to?
I'll tell you, part of my decision to move over to Compass was partly in due to the fact that they have a huge online presence,
Hmm.
uh, and I want to say that their total reach is like up there next to Zillow's, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Redfin. Like, it's one of those big top five size companies. So I'm not a researcher and I didn't gather the latest notes on this, but I wanted to grab a company with a big website, with a lot of activity for marketing purposes. Because yeah, like you said, when they're looking up, okay, should we work with David or Trevin? They're going to first Google us, and they're going to see our LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, our website, and they're going to form an opinion fairly quickly about us, which hence why episode 13 for
Mhm.
YouTube and the Realtors, right? Just another platform where we have content and messaging out there where we can share just a little taste of who we are for people to get to know and an experience and see, okay, do I like that person? Do I like their vibe? Because
Mhm.
I think that while you do it all, there's over 8 billion people on earth, and there's a tribe of people who are going to favor you over me, right?
Mhm.
Or they're going to favor me over you. And so we're just trying to attract that audience to come toward our way. And there was a stat I was looking at just today. There's a big coach out there in real estate, and he did a poll, and he said, which site? Let me ask you this question: which of the sites do you think gives you the most success at finding buyers or sellers?
Mhm.
Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, um, Twitter, LinkedIn. Like, which one you think gives you the best, the highest percentage?
Mhm. Mhm. Um, I don't know. LinkedIn. What do you think?
Yeah.
What
So
is?
I assumed it was YouTube,
Mhm.
but the audience and what the results showed that this coach did is said Instagram.
Mhm.
Instagram had a higher success rate of reaching people, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow, that's really impressive because if you think about it, if you get your page to 5, 10,000, 20,000 followers, you're
Mhm.
now in a better place to get organic views and likes and people commenting on your content. So I know that that's like a young man sport. I
Yeah.
feel really old trying to understand it and begging my 17 and 14-year-olds to like my content. They're like, oh man, I'm sure they talk under their breath about me. And I try to garner their what is it, not tuition, when you give the chores money or whatever, and I'm like, hey, like my content before I pay you,
Mhm. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
get more likes.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Allowance.
that's
Your allowance.
yeah, allowance. That's what it is. I don't know if that's the right demographic for me, but I think it was Ryan Serhan who said that he got clients who were looking to buy like a $10 million house, and
Mhm.
their 10 or 15-year-old mentioned his name because she happened to see him on YouTube,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it's like, yo, that's powerful.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Is there? I don't. Is there even allowance anymore? I actually, when you said that, I thought of that, and I'm trying to think of the last time I even used that word. Um, in relation to to kids, because I think I have an older son, and I do remember telling him when he was younger. I said we can do one of two things. I said I can either give you an allowance. I said, or I can just take care of whatever you need. I said, for me, I think I'll come out much better off if I give you an allowance. You don't think so, but I mean that's a set amount, and then you have to budget that on your own, as opposed to you just come in and say, hey, I need a haircut, I need this, I want these shoes, I want that kind of thing. So that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
I haven't used that in a while. But no, you're
Yep.
right. It's a different audience. So you do have to kind of find your right audience, and stay in your lane a little bit. I mean, I think both of us, I think we have engaging personalities to where we can interact with all different types of buyers or sellers. I mean, I have some on both sides, buyers and sellers, that are really straightforward. We just want, we want direct information. And then, you have others that, they kind of want the warm and fuzzy, the hand holding, and just a little more of a personal interaction as opposed to a business transaction. And it's important, I think, to figure out which one you're dealing with, because and I know, if you don't, then you can make a huge mistake. If you're dealing with someone that is straightforward, they're looking for a business transaction, and you're wanting to talk about the weather or how the Cowboys got destroyed yesterday in football, they don't want to hear it. So, um, yeah, still wearing the blue today, but anyway. Um, so yeah, that can happen also. So segueing from that, as far as video content, let's talk a little bit about walkthroughs and like market updates as far as some of the power of video. So walkthroughs, there's a couple, I say a couple, there's several sites out there that will allow you to do a video walkthrough of a property. Zillow is one that allows that, to where you can go in and create a video walkthrough, or you can create that through I do it here through photography. So our photographers go out, take pictures of the property, and they'll create like a video kind of walkthrough. And it's not really video necessarily walkthrough as much as it is just kind of a, you'll have the little targets to where you can just click that and it'll advance you into that next room. So from the living room to the bedroom, and then so on throughout, throughout the house. What do you think buyers prefer, that's those still shots like that, or the actual walkthrough of a video? Because I think personally it can depend on the quality of the video. I don't know that anyone wants to see a shaky video of you walking through a property that that seems like you're doing after hurricane assessment, of the property, as opposed to showing the features. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And I just recently had an experience with this because the last two shoots I did for listings were using the Zillow
Yeah.
walkthrough service. And I heard, okay, if you're a big fan of Zillow, that walkthrough technology is embedded in their website. So they showcase it differently than they would showcase, for example, Matterport. And I prefer Matterport. It just looks more crisp, and just the segmenting from room to room,
Mhm.
it's smoother, way smoother than the Zillow experience of the walkthrough. And I think as a buyer, I think that this became a bigger deal, especially during COVID, because nobody wanted to go out. And it's like a new construction field. You could walk through the home, you could literally see the room dimensions, room by room. You could literally zero in on the baseboards and
Mhm.
comment, hey, something doesn't look right in that corner of the room. Is that water damage, or is that whatever? It looks dirty.
Mhm.
You have the ability to really feel like you're there. And oh, by the way, it eliminates the need as realtors, because sometimes you and I will do walkthroughs virtually for our
Mhm.
buyers, where
Sure.
we're using our phone to do a FaceTime or a
Mhm.
WhatsApp video, or maybe we're just recording a video, by hand. And it's like, why do that? If there's a video walkthrough already set up
Yeah.
by the agent,
Yeah.
let's
Mhm.
go, right? Like, we're steps ahead. And what I learned too is, I think the Zillow walkthrough video is a cheaper, lower cost expense than Matterport, and
Mhm.
and I think it shows. It shows that it's a cheaper experience.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I think it all goes to, to the quality of it. Walkthroughs, I've done a few showings that way as well, to where we're actually showing the property, and we do that either, rather through its WhatsApp or FaceTime or something like that, as far as creating that. And I think you're right, going back to 2020, where, we had that COVID time period where we weren't actively showing homes, or there were limited parties that were actually allowed to be in homes, and that kind of took off. And I think it's stuck around. It didn't. I think it's lasted a little bit, to where I think it's, again, back to that time management thing. I think for people, I think it's a time issue of, if I can call you and say, hey, Trevin, can we do a quick video? Instead of scheduling a time for me to go out to the property, you have to go to the property, we have to meet there, and we take a look at it, and in 5 minutes, we dismiss it. Hey, can you shoot over there if you're in the area, and do a quick FaceTime tour with me? And then if I'm interested, then maybe we take it to that next level. Maybe I go into the property, we schedule to see it, we get a little bit deeper dive into it. So yeah, I think it's become a really useful tool for us. I think, probably, my opinion, I think it's better if you do it through FaceTime and it's live, as opposed to a recording, because like you said, there may be something in that video that someone sees that they want further clarification on, that you could provide if you were there doing the video, as opposed to hey, this is a recorded video walkthrough, like the one that Zillow uses. And I hate to keep giving so many plugs to Zillow, but they do have it built into their system. So for whatever that's worth. So let's talk about market updates a little bit. So market updates. This came in as one of our topics for this week. So market updates in the form of market updates for your sellers, or are we talking about overall market updates, or what are we talking about? Because there's a couple different times. So right now, I think we're in a market where you've got to probably go overboard with information to sellers in regards to what the market is doing right now, because it's a little flat. I think we saw a few weeks back when the Fed cut the rates. We thought that was going to have a big impact, and I haven't seen it yet. I had a buyer that was pre-qualified this past weekend, and they had a off the chart credit score of around 800. And I think they were doing conventional. They could do anywhere between 10 to 30,000 down. And I was surprised to find out that the rate was still 6.5 for them, which didn't blow me away at all, because I thought, well, a buyer with just, the average or the above average, credit scores, could get that, could still get that, that rate. So I think it's a little flat in the market here. We kind of talked about listings, as far as listings, moving. So my updates to sellers are, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we're competing with. This is where we're priced at. And we have to stay in that top range. What are your thoughts on the market updates?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you that the rates seem to be flat. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of movement going down yet. I mean, I'm hoping that when the Feds do their announcement and review this month, they'll take another decrease in rates. That'll
Mhm.
stir the market up, especially because we're in holiday mode.
Yeah.
Um, and people are getting prepared for Halloween, as your cat was, in the beginning of our episode. And but at the same time, I think that inventory it's not rising to the degree that one would hope, because we're still low on inventory. And at the same
Mhm.
time, I'm noticing some markets here in Central Florida are moving faster than others, right? I had a listing that went pending in one day. The
Mhm.
first person that saw it came back to see it again and did not want to lose it. And we played ball and they negotiated. And my clients awarded them with the deal. There's other listings in other neighborhoods I thought were on a 30-day on market cycle. And come to find out, it seems to be slower than that. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I tell my clients, we just have to monitor it week to week, because nobody has a crystal ball here. But it does seem like it's a little slower activity than one would think. Like
Mhm.
this is a listing that's in my backyard, and there's probably 10 other competitive offers that are in the same match, as far as style, size, number of beds and baths. And it's like, okay, well, why aren't we having more activity right now, right? So we just have to be patient,
Yeah.
is the messaging I give, and just share the data.
Yeah, I think it's like we talked about before we came on air today. We talked about hurricanes and the effect that has on the market of that kind of wait. You're in waiting mode. So for example, in Florida here, if you get a warning to either either vacate your property, um, or hunker down, whatever the case is. If you get that message, then that's something you kind of have to adhere to, but you're in a little bit of a waiting mode as to well, what do we do? So the hurricane's coming, you've got 3 or 4 days. I liken our market to that a little bit, in that we've got hurricane season to deal with here, that's going to be with us for another few weeks, and then you've got an election that's looming, as to which side is going to be in power and what that's going to look like, for each side, and how that's going to affect the economy, how that's going to affect housing. So I think once we get through that, once we get through hurricane season, once we get through this election, I think we'll have a little more stability in the market to where I think buyers and sellers, at least you know what you have. Whether you like what happens in the election, that's up to your individual preference. But I think at least okay, this is what this is what we have to work with. Yeah, and we go ahead and make a plan according to that. So I think right now that's my feeling, is that everyone's in that holding pattern, because of those things. So hopefully that kind of dissipates as we get some answers here. So let's do a Kiss, Marry, Kill segment. So Kiss, Marry, Kill. So today is so Kiss, Marry, Kill. Email newsletters, which I'm assuming are like Constant Contact or things like that. Video content from social media, or traditional print ads. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I think, man, that we'd have to kill traditional print ads. Those don't exist anymore because nobody reads the newspaper. I would say that's more likely postcards, and I think that the traditional 20-year vet realtor mindset would say postcards always work, but on a long-term consistent basis. So, I would kill it though. I think it's such a long-term expense. There's other ways to attract bees to honey, and it's just easier ways to do it. I think that the video content is the way to go to marry. And yeah, I'd kiss the email. I'd kiss the emails. I'll marry the video content. One thing that I'm doing now, which is really cool technology wise, is inside of an email, newsletter, I can incorporate video. Obviously, you got to learn how to do all of these things. And being not a millennial, or Gen Z, it's the technology is really cool if you can find the right tools. And so definitely, I like the idea of incorporating in an email video, or in addition, texting a video to someone. There's technology like Bomb that's out there. And just again, right, just to touch someone and have them interact and see your face and see your mouth moving, your head nodding, your eyes lit up, right? They can't just turn off or mark spam an email. It's better if they can interact and see you. If they're saying no, they're saying no, right? Which is okay. But you gotta give me the attention of 2 seconds to acknowledge my existence and acknowledge that what I'm talking about here is not unrealistic. You want to sell your house, or you really do want to buy, right? The question is, are you going to give me the 5 minutes to hear me out and then interview me for the job? So that's my take on today's Kiss, Marry, Kill. Which was
I think we're in alignment here. So Kiss for me would be the email newsletters. I do like I've used Constant Contact in the past. I do like the ability that some of them have to where you can actually monitor and see who is actually opening those emails and see what kind of interaction you get. I think that's always best if you're going to use some kind of service like that, because at least it's manageable to where you can say, okay, I sent this out. This is who is actually seeing it and engaging it. Marry, again, video content on social media, through the platforms. I think it's the highest and best way to reach the masses of buyers and sellers that are out there. It's just far and away, it's the best way, I think, to reach people. Now, having said that, we've talked about age demographics and things like that. There are going to be I think a group of buyers and sellers that you may completely miss out on if you're strictly going through social media through video content. Because I have customers that tell me all the time, I'm not on any kind of social media. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I don't look at YouTube. I don't do any of that stuff. They're my buddy Phil that I haven't heard from, that we had 10 calls per day. We had that because Phil was not a technology guy. Phil was, I want to call you and have you pick up the phone and have a conversation with me. And what's the saying in our business? Real estate is a contact sport. So it's one of those things where you do need to have that engagement. For other people, engagement is through social media. You know, they feel that is a connection to where they can actually look at that video, see your face. So I think it's the closest of the two. Traditional print ads for me, I'll paint a picture for you. So this is me every other day when I check the mail. I go from the mailbox straight to my trash can, and I stand over the trash can and I drop countless postcards that come to us through either. Right now it's the election season, so you're bombarded with, you know, probably 20 postcards, you know, that come through that. If there's a real estate flyer in there that someone has sent me, I will take a look at that because I'm in the business now. Is someone else going to do that? Maybe not. Probably just depends on if it's specific to their neighborhood. If we go into, we've talked in the past about farming to where you're working on a particular neighborhood that you live in or that you work necessarily, that might be of relevance to you for a moment. But I don't think it's anything that's going to have any kind of real shelf life to it, because unlike before, I think you're just going to toss that eventually. Whereas if you're putting video content out there, it's out there, you know, forever. It's out there and it can be repurposed, you know, quite a bit. So yeah, that's it for me on that. So we've got some things to look forward to, maybe not look forward to, hopefully with the pending weather. I hope we stay clear of all of that, to where we're not dealing with that. And I mean, it's pretty late. It's pretty late in the season, you know, to be dealing with some of that anyway. So hopefully that's not a factor for either one of us.
Right.
So again, for me, thank you everyone for continuing to listen and to be a part of our show. We ask you to subscribe, hit your like button. Trevin, do you have anything to add before we take off?
That's it. Signing off. Great seeing you all, and hope you have a wonderful day.
See you. Have a good one.